I can focus on the new battery and how it applies to you guys being successful in the market. And assuming you guys are mostly California, but that there's other markets you sell into. Or I can spend 20 minutes and give you, the shortened NEM 3.0 masterclass and the new battery. So you guys, if you've been, did anybody go to the masterclass at Powur that I led? I led 2 of them. I see no hands.
I think Anthony and I think Terry were both there, but I'm not sure if they attended your class.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, Bo, to kind of help steer the direction here. Do you want? This is all for you guys. Do you want us to rip through NEM 3.0 and kind of get a refresh from the home energy nerd mind of Spencer on what the kind of big takeaways are, or just go right into product?
I think we do a hybrid. I think we do the hybrid approach. I think that'll be good. I think a lot of people want to hear, especially the guys who are in California, want to kind of see the NEM3 approach and then kind of your update with the product.
Okay, cool. Okay, then let's do that. Give me 1 second here. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Rocking. Where are my slides? Here we go. I think this will work. Okay, one more time. Okay, I guess that'll work. Okay. So here's the deal. The party is not over. It's just, we got this chasm to jump. We got this new way of thinking to embrace. And the new way of thinking is going to take a more advanced solar professional, right? If you got off the hook by being an order taker in March of 2023, that gravy train is done, but that's good news. It means you're just going to have to level up your game. And for a solar professional who understands home energy, you're going to be in a great position, and that's my job to help you get there. So the summary that I'm going to validate with some really good data and some distinctions I'm going to provide for you guys today, I want you seeing things black and white, not gray. We're going to take out all the gray, is that you're still targeting 100% solar offset. You're targeting close to 90% bill offset. Batteries provide an awesome payback. And solar in California still has a 5 to 7 year payback. Okay, so we're going to walk through these. First thing to understand is the difference between solar offset or energy savings and bill offset. Who can give a shot? What is the difference between solar offset and bill offset?
Energy offset is offsetting their annualized kilowatt usage, and bill savings is offsetting their monthly average.
Close. We're close. I'm going to say it again. Solar offset is kilowatt hours. It's energy. Bill offset is dollars. Okay.
Is that what I just said?
You said monthly something. So I just trying to make it really, really clear. So solar offset is kilowatt hours. Bill offset is dollars. Okay. So when we say solar offset, what we're saying is, okay, they used 10,000 kilowatt hours last year, right? The solar system produces 10,000 kilowatt hours. That's 100% solar offset. Bill offset is saying, hey, look, they spent $5,000 last year. Now they're going to spend 500, right? That's a 90% bill offset. And why it's very important to distinguish these two is because before you could just say, hey, I'm offsetting 100% of solar, right? I'm giving you 100% solar offset, and basically they get 100% bill offset. It was almost the same because they were getting a good buyback. You could export at a high rate. So most of what you'd sell back, you'd get the same value for, right? So, hey, I'll give you 100% solar offset, and they'd basically eliminate their bill. Now, if you give them 100% bill offset, let me say that again. If you give them 100% solar offset with no batteries, they only get a 50% bill offset. Say that again. You give them 100% solar offset with no batteries, they only get a 50% bill offset in California. So it's very, very important to distinguish the difference. Solar offset is now how much solar is being produced based on what they historically have used. Bill offset is how much actual money are you saving them? And it has to do with how much the utility is paying for the extra energy. You only have 6 or 8 hours every day to produce solar energy. You use it 24 hours. You're banking all 24 hours in that 6 to 8 hours, right? You're using some, but you're banking the rest when you have a net metering structure. If you're only getting 5 cents per kilowatt hour, that bank's not going to do much good to you. It's a really poor exchange rate, right? So that's where batteries come into place. That's where they can be your own bank. And the good news is now batteries have a good payback. Before, battery payback was terrible. It actually sunk payback. You'd have a 5-year payback. You'd add a battery for backup power, and the payback would go to 9 years or 10 years. Now you have a 5-6 year payback with solar. You add a battery, the payback stays the same. The bill offset, the savings just grow. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. So does everybody now understand the difference between solar offset is kilowatt hours, bill offset is dollars? Any questions? And I'm sorry if I cut you off there a little, Dana. It wasn't that your definition was bad. I just don't think it made it 100% clear for everybody in the call. And that's kind of what I'm trying to accomplish. Cool. Thank you. Solar offset, bill offset. Can someone say it back to me in their own words so I know that you at least got it?
Energy is kilowatts, bill is dollar.
Bingo. Thank you. Well said. Anyone else want to say it in their own words? Difference between solar offset or energy offset and bill offset. I think Dana carried it really well. Let's keep going, okay? So before, right, we'd have this 1-to-1 ratio. What we'd buy and what we'd sell it for were the same, right? We'd buy it for X. If we were buying it for X, we'd sell it for X, right? Now, it was different based on the time of day, right? But at least we'd buy and sell energy for the same value, right? If we were buying it for, let's say 48 cents in the summer at the off-peak time and we're generating energy, we get 48 cents of credit. This is the old net metering 2.0, net metering 1.0 program. Now, what you buy it for and what you sell it for are totally separate. What you buy it for is based on your rates, which are crazy high now, and what you sell it for is based on this crazy chart. Okay, so let's talk about this crazy chart for a second. What is in this crazy chart? Well, there's a few things to just understand. The first thing to understand is that most of the time when the sun is shining 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., you don't get much. 4 cents, 5 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, less than a penny, right? So you don't sell it for much, but there is a period where you sell it for a lot. And this is a really important thing to be able to share to homeowners in a way that's compelling for them. You don't want to make it too complicated. Keep it simple, right? And you definitely don't want to bring up NEM 2.0 or NEM 1.0 unless they already have, right? And they're asking questions about it. But you do want to share the benefit of net metering 3.0 with them, of the current net metering structure, of net billing in California. Hey, I just want to let you know that net billing in California is amazing. It's one of the only programs where you can sell energy at the same price utilities buy it for. You can actually sell energy in the wholesale rates. What do you mean wholesale rates? Oh, well, when energy is expensive, when there's high demand and low supply, we can sell for as high as $3 per kilowatt hour. Do you know that? That's amazing, right? Really? $3 per kilowatt hour. How much is that? Well, you actually only pay about, even during the peakest peak, you only pay 80 cents. So you can sell it for 4 times that when it's really expensive. Oh, really? Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, cool. That's an amazing program. Well, what about during the daytime? I don't get much. Yeah, you don't get much, but that's what we have batteries for. That's why we can hold it in the battery. Instead of selling low, we're going to put it in your battery and you can use it when energy is expensive. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Okay, so we got store it in the battery when you're not getting much, right? Export it to the grid when you're getting a lot. Dump the battery, sell the energy from the battery. And the summary is basically in NEM 1.0, NEM 2.0, you used to say, hey, spin your meter backwards, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. Go, homeowner, screw the utility. I'm going to, get those credits. No. In NEM 3.0, no, you don't want to spin your meter backwards unless you're doing it very, very intelligently, only doing it during a specific period. Okay, so the summary in NEM 3.0 is use it or lose it, or store it and use it later, or sell it for 5 times. This is the one net billing sentence. You understand this one sentence, you understand net billing. Use it or lose it, self-consume, use your own solar energy during the daytime, use the energy. If I can't use it, I want to store it. And when I store it, I can use it later. Or if there's this period where energy is very, very valuable to export, I'm going to export it. I'm going to dump the battery. I'm going to export. I'm going to discharge the battery for a lot of extra bonus points that I'm at a casino on 5 times earnings. Is this making sense to everybody? Is this resonating with your already existing thinking on this? Is this clarifying it? Yeah, Dana, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense. I just want to clarify this for everyone, where you said use it later or export it for 5 times more. 5 times more, that's once a year at a specific time in a certain month. So just moving forward, just not to miscommunicate that to the client that it's going to be 5 times more all the time. Correct?
Yeah, totally correct. Now, when you say once per year, it is 1 or 2 hours every day for the entire month of September, right? It is, 1 or 2 hours at $1.90, right? So it actually is pretty meaningful at $3 per kilowatt hour. If I'm dumping half my battery, 5 kilowatt hours times 3, that's $15 per day times 30 days in the month. That's $450 just this month. So it's not the whole equation, right? The main part of it is self-consume, store it in the battery, and avoid paying this. That's the main story of a battery. But the secondary story, the what's it called? You get the actor, you get the supporting actor, is yeah, you can also sell it, right? And $450 a year of extra battery value is not nothing, right? That's pretty meaningful, right? It could be 10% additional savings. So the main actor is, hey, the main, if you had like 3 main characters, you'd have like, the supporting lead actor is the solar, 50% of your offset. Okay, the female lead is, battery and use it later, right? So you don't have to pay. That's maybe another 30%. And then the supporting actor is, hey, sell some to the grid too when it's expensive and get another 10, 15%. So those are kind of the 3 big vehicles. Hey, I'm producing the energy, I'm holding it and using it when I can and avoid the cost. And I got a kind of nice supporting actor that I'm actually participating in the grid. I'm able to sell it. And for a home energy nerd wannabe, a homeowner who's kind of nerding out, trying to figure it out, trying to figure out what this whole thing is, kind of cool to tell them, hey, look, I just want to let you know we have a very, very advanced technology. When it works on, basically kind of like the stock market, like buy low, sell high. If we can sell it high, it will. We want you to be able to buy low, sell high. What do you mean buy low, sell high? Well, solar is super cheap. You're buying from yourself. It's only 12 cents per kilowatt hour when you average it out over the life of the system. So instead of buying from the utility, we're going to buy low. What do you mean sell high? Well, we're going to sell as high as we can. If it's $3 per kilowatt hour, we're going to sell there. If you're the biggest buyer, meaning instead of buying from the utility from 81 cents, I'm going to buy from my own battery, then we'll do that. We'll either sell it to you or sell it to utility, whoever will pay us the most money. All right. Oh, wait, you want to sell it to the utility and then I have to buy it myself for 81 cents? That doesn't seem to make sense. Well, yeah, it does. If you can sell it for 3 and buy for 80 cents, isn't that a good deal for you, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner? Would you buy it for 80 and sell it for 3? I would, all day. It's a 4x, 5x return on your investment. So that's yeah.
Tag on to one more thing, Spencer,
Yeah.
just to clarify. So we're optimizing, and I do see Jenny's hand. I apologize, Jenny, but I want to make sure that my question is clear here. So to optimize this scenario for our customers, let's say we install them in October, November, where they have almost a full year to benefit from that month of September. Do we pre-configure their battery immediately to optimize that time in September? Or do we wait until September? How do we ensure that they're going to be able to sell instead of consume in that particular month?
Jumping ahead here a little bit, but I'm gonna go with you. So the way it works is in net metering 3.0, the homeowner gets to choose their true up date. It's part of the program. If they don't get a good true update, meaning a true update that works with that period, they can actually change their true update once in the program. Now, net metering 3.0 is actually, it's not even fully development. Our software to be approved to do this isn't even be available till December of this year. It doesn't really matter that much because it won't really come into play till next September. But the homeowner is going to want to choose a true update that is before that September date. Why? Because if they have a true update in October and they get those extra credits by exporting to the grid, those will actually be zeroed out. They're going to want to have a true update closer to July so they can take any credits and carry them forward. Does that answer your question or not really?
Well, I just put it in the chat. I thought that under the NEM 3 that it's no longer net metering, it's now net billing, which is a month to month instead of an annualized 12 months.
Yeah, it is. So you get a monthly bill, right? And the monthly bill will include two things. It'll include your minimum monthly charges, right? And your cost for electricity. Now, you're going to pay the minimum monthly charges, but your cost for electricity, if you had a month like this in September, would be zero. And your credits can carry forward, not on your minimum monthly charges, but your credits on your cost for electricity can carry forward. So the difference before is all of everything was kind of in one statement that would happen every month and get trued up at the end of the year. Now you get monthly bill, but you still can carry forward extra credits into future months. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I'm just, again, as boots on the ground, as sales reps, we're helping our customers to take full advantage of the month of September.
Totally.
So to make sure that they sell instead of self-consume. So
Yeah.
how would they adjust their usage for that month?
They don't have to.
They don't have to.
Yeah, they don't have to. I mean, telling a homeowner they can't use their air conditioning or it's better not to, people don't want to change their lifestyle very much. Our software does everything. So if you think about it like this, we have an hour, and this gets into the new battery, which we'll get there in a minute. We have an hour that energy is very, very valuable, right? During that hour, what we're going to do is we're going to save all the battery power for that hour. And when we hit that hour, we're going to export that battery as fast as we can. Some of it will go to the home, but because our battery is so powerful, you're also going to get credits from the utility. Those credits will add up. They will help you offset your usage. And if you have more credits than you use that month, which you probably will in September, some of those will even help carry forward into future months so that you can use those extra credits. And they basically calculate out in your monthly bill. I don't want to make it more complicated than it is. It's pretty, the simplest truth is that just like in NEM 2.0, you can get credits. Most of the time, you won't have credits. Why won't you have credits most of the time? Because we know that you're not going to have a ton of extra credits when you're exporting looks like this. We're not going to get a ton of extra credits. So they're not going to carry over. But there are a couple months you're going to get extra credits. That's going to be here. And if you get them, we're going to apply them to future months' bills. That's it. Jenny, I see your hand up. Do you want to jump in here?
Yes, thanks. I'm kind of late to the party, so and kind of new at selling solar energy, but I live in Texas,
Yeah.
and net metering is not regulated in Texas. We've got 7 utility providers that offer credits, some with caps, some without caps. So is this specifically California and the changes that took place in April?
It is, but here's the thing for you to understand, Jenny. The only real difference in California than Texas is that in California, there's this value to sell. The Texas market does look very similar to this. Take the green away. You don't get to sell for very much in most of the market, right? They don't have a high buyback.
Oh yeah, a friend of mine who already has solar power, she said you sell it back at like 1/10 the cost.
Yeah.
1/10.
Yep.
Pathetic.
And so that's what a battery's for, right? And if you want to think of it like a daily picture, right? I'm going to show you real quick a picture of Enlighten Mobile. I'm going to show you our mobile app for a second here. Enphase Energy mobile. I think this is it. Ooh, where is it? Mobile. Ooh, Enphase Enlighten Mobile. Here we go. Let me see if this is it. I don't have it here. I'll have to find one of them somewhere. Let me think where else I can find it. Give me 1 second here. Enphase.com. I'm just looking for the right picture to show you. And I didn't have it there. In here, it's probably under our white paper. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so here's the picture, right, of a standard kind of usage. Now, to read this hieroglyphics for a second, it's also, again, not rocket science. Everything above 0 is energy that's being produced. Everything that's below 0 is energy that's being used. This is a picture of our app, a daily picture of our app. Okay, so basically this is supply above the line, demand below the line. Generation above, usage below. So what does this tell? What story does this tell us? Okay. Move that key over so you can kind of see the key a little bit. What's happening? Well, it's nighttime. The battery is almost empty. And the grid is supplying power and the home is consuming power. Okay, got it. Sun comes out in the morning. Sun starts powering the home. As soon as the sun can power the entire home usage, the extra energy from the sun starts to go into the battery. Right? Fills up the battery here. As soon as the battery is full, now the extra solar energy goes back to the grid, even though they don't buy it for that much. There's no other place for it to go. The homes are using loads. And so the extra solar energy goes back to the grid, right? Until the sun goes down, you don't want to be using from the grid. So now you start using from the battery. The energy comes from the battery. And you're using energy from the battery as the battery discharges and the cycle repeats again. Now, some days the battery will last all the way through the morning. Some days the battery will be depleted a little bit earlier. But the summary here is that it's kind of like a daily cycle. Battery fills up in the morning, right? Battery discharges in the evening. Sun comes out again, battery fills up in the morning, battery discharges in the evening. And in Texas, what that allows you to do is say, look, instead of selling that energy at 1/10 the value, I'm actually going to put it in my own energy bank and I'm going to use it at nighttime. So I'm going to disappear from the utility grid. I'm going to be invisible from the utility grid. I'm not going to have to use the utility grid, depend on the utility grid as this energy bank. I'm going to use my own battery as my own battery bank, right? That's where I store energy. If energy is like money, right? I'm putting it in my own bank. I'm not counting on the utility because the utility, frankly, gives me a terrible exchange rate. My battery gives me a really good exchange rate, right? The utility doesn't. My battery gives me close to 1-to-1. The utility gives me 1-to-10, right? So that's why I get a battery. That's one of the reasons why I get a battery. And so that gives us a really, really important distinction about batteries, which is what are batteries for? There's two things that batteries are for. We talk about things like self-consumption, grid independence, mumbo jumbo. I like to really bring it down to the basics. What do you use a battery for? Any guesses? Armando, Dana, Jim, Bo. There's two use cases for batteries. What are they?
Backup and self-consumption.
Backup and self-consumption. Well said, Keith. Right? So you have backup power, right? This is keeping the lights on during an outage. And you have self-consumption. Self-consumption is still a little bit of an abstract phrase. I'm going to call it saving money. The two reasons a homeowner will get a battery, one is saving money, and the other could be backup power. And they're very different reasons, right? Saving money is kind of what's the solar market has built its market presence on. Backup power is a quality of life benefit. It's a, like a comfort benefit. And most people convolute these things. And there's some issues with that. One big issue is that it doesn't hit home. Dana, you have kids? I forget. You don't have kids. Bo, you have kids? You do. If I talk to you about self-consumption, grid independence, freedom from utility, how much does that really hit you in your heart?
Not a lot.
Okay, what about saving money for your family? Your family's financial future.
That's what we want.
Your family's finances, that means a little bit to you, or it matters, a big deal. It's a big deal to you.
It's a big deal, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's saving money. What about grid independence?
At this point, no.
Yeah. What about the safety and security of your family?
Absolutely.
So your kids for safety and their security?
Yep.
Little deal or
Big deal.
Big deal.
Yep.
Right. So when you talk about batteries, you want to talk about them in two very clear ways. This battery will save you money. This battery will keep the lights on and keep your family safe if there's an outage. Which of those, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, Bo, which of those is important to you? Do you care about just saving maximum amount of money, best ROI savings, or you also want energy security for your family? Because you have the choice. You can do a battery system without backup, right? Or you can do a system with backup. And why it's so valuable to distinguish these two things is because you don't want to collapse them, meaning you don't want somebody convoluting the savings associated with solar and a battery in California with the benefit of security for your family. Why? Because it's a 9-year payback. It pushes the payback out. It's more expensive. You got to get an IQ system controller. You got to get rewire all the electrical for backup. So the conversation I've been coaching solar professionals to have is start with a solar and battery system that has no backup. Why? Because it's got the best payback. Get them clear that the numbers make sense for them at a 6-year payback before showing them an 8-year payback. Now, there's exceptions to that rule. If somebody says, hey, I'm so excited to meet with you. We've had 8 outages over the last, 6 months and, I'm going crazy here. I got to keep the lights on. You're not going to pitch them a battery without backup. But most people haven't had an outage in a year or 2 or 3. And if they have, it's been 20 minutes. And in that case, the way I'd approach it, I'd say, look, I'd like to start you with the best ROI system, the best return on investment. It's a battery that gives you, basically allows you to buy low, sell high, right? Avoid those peak rates to capture your own energy and avoid paying peak energy cost to its utility. Capture your own energy and really control it so you maximize your savings. And then after I show you that great payback, if you want to talk about backup, that's an option. We can have a conversation about that. So I'll go through the whole thing. I'll show them the 6-year payback, 5-year payback, get them all excited about that. And at the end, I'll say, look, I just want to make sure we quoted you a system that does not provide backup. If the grid goes down, you will not have power. And they go, oh no, why not? And you go, well, the same thing you used to tell them before when you said, if you get solar only, you won't have power, which is if the grid goes down, we can't just send energy back to the grid. An electric worker could be electrocuted. We have to put in a special switch, rewire all the backup loads. It's a lot of labor. It's a lot of responsibility. If you want that, that's an option, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. That'll cost an extra $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000. But now here's the deal. They've already gotten to see that the finances are as good as possible for them. They've already locked in their brain 7-year payback or 6-year payback with solar and battery without backup. And if they want to pay the $7,000 or $8,000 for backup, let them pay. Great. You want backup? Totally a great option. Let us give that to you. Put that together for you as an option. So this is basically selling an Enphase grid tied battery, a battery with no backup. It's a great way to lead. You're going to get the best payback. We're seeing 6-7 year paybacks in California. For Powur, I love this because you guys sell in different markets, right? Who is talking about Texas? Do you know what the payback is in Texas? You should. It's because that's your market. It's 10, 11, 12 years.
10
Probably.
to 12 years. Okay. Well, I haven't
That'd be
sold
my-
one
that'd be
yet.
my
I'm
guess.
just getting started.
Who else sells in Texas? Is that accurate? Pretty close. Maybe sometimes 15 years, right? It's not 6 or 7 years like it is in California. Still, and I say that to remind us how spoiled we were, and how spoiled we still are. That payback in California is not that great. No, it's still phenomenal, right? It's still phenomenal. Okay, so about 40 minutes in, I want to shift the focus, but I wanted to make sure to get these conversations in. And now I'm going to shift to our new product. Okay. Happy to do a follow-up training if we want. Although my wife is about 9 months pregnant, so I'm going to be out on paternity leave for probably the next few weeks. But I want to give you a kind of a primer on NEM 3.0, which is, okay, we got low export rates. We're going to get a battery. The battery is going to store the energy. We're going to avoid those costs later in the day. If there's a time where we can sell for a higher value, we're going to do that. Enphase software takes care of all that for us. We don't have to worry about any of that. And we're going to give homeowners options. They can have an option for a battery with no backup or a battery with backup. Leading with a battery with no backup is probably going to help us close the deal better and set expectations for them if they do choose a battery with or without backup, period. Okay, so we have batteries that can do just savings, batteries that can do savings and backup. They kind of actually compete with each other, right? Because if I set the reserve in the battery, the amount that I keep in the battery at 30 or 40%, am I saving less or more? You're saving less because every day you're not using that 40%. If I have a battery with no backup and I'm able to discharge the battery at 95% every day, right? Discharge the full kind of capacity of the battery. In that case, I'm getting more savings, right? I'm using more capacity, right? So they kind of balance each other, right? As you put more investment into keeping the lights on, keeping more in the battery, you have a little bit less savings. Okay, so let's talk about our new battery. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to kind of change slides here. And any questions about what I've gone over so far? I know it's a little bit technical, but supposedly,
I had a quick question.
Yeah,
So
go for
just
it, Bill.
on the, is that only on the self-consumption batteries? Or, so I'm trying to clarify my question. If you have a 10 kilowatt battery in California,
Yes.
can you will that be able to be used for the self-consumption as well as be able to be used as a backup battery?
Great question. So it should say in the Powur platform, Enphase battery, 5P, 10 kWh, no backup.
Mm-hmm.
And there should be another option that says Enphase battery, 10 kWh with backup. There's an option.
Envision, it's there.
Okay.
Is it not there in Solo, but it is in Vision?
Correct.
It's not there in Solo.
Yeah.
That's fine. Let's see it.
Spencer, I have a quick question. On your bar graph, you had orange on every single month, a little bit of orange and more in September. Is that because when the battery fills during the day, it'll still export some of the energy?
Yeah, the export credits are going to be lower than the import charges.
So if the battery fills during the day
Yeah.
and they're still using their panels,
Yeah.
it can be set to export the excess energy it's creating during that day?
Yeah, remember, these are not credits in terms of kilowatt hours, they're credits in terms of dollars. So why these orange little graphs are so low is because you don't get much value for them.
Got it.
But in August, September, the value starts to go up a lot, right? So that's why, think of it like an exchange rate, right? A kilowatt hour is not worth the same amount based on certain times of day, right? As the time changes, the value varies greatly, right? A water bottle at Disneyland, right, is going to be a lot more valuable than a water bottle outside Costco. Right? The water bottle outside Costco is worth 20 cents. The water bottle, same water bottle at Disneyland is worth $5. Right? The kilowatt hour that you're exporting in May at 12 is worth 12 cents. I'm sorry, it's worth 1 cent. The kilowatt hour that you're exporting in September at 7 p.m. is worth $3. So they have very different values, and it's based on, supply and demand. This is if you never heard of the duck curve, this is the duck curve. It's the wholesale supply and demand. Well, it's actually the wholesale demand really in California. It kind of illustrates supply, and it says, look, the demand in the middle of the daytime is low. And it's been getting lower and lower every year because more and more solar comes online. Right? So the evening demand's high and there's no solar production. So the, high demand, low supply, cost, value, low demand, lower demand, higher supply, cost, value. Right? And that's why storage is so valuable. It allows you to control when you use the energy. Make sense?
Does.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about our new battery.
Spencer, real quick, I have a question.
Yep. Go for it.
So going back to that table that showed the hourly rate that we would get for exporting
Yep.
the battery.
Yep.
So just my question is, are we having to, let's say in that August time at the 17th, 18th, 19th hour, are we having to go up to the battery and manually go, okay, we want to discharge now, or are we able to program it like
Yeah.
a year in advance and put it in date time?
Our software takes care of all of that. I will disclaim that right now applications are still being submitted as what's called an import only application. They're not being submitted yet as an export application, as interconnection. But by December, we expect that to completely flip and all applications will be as export applications. But
Okay.
in terms of how the battery functions, that's all done in the software. It's very simple. The software looks at the value and says, look, what's the highest bidder for my energy today? What's the highest bidder? Is the highest bidder avoiding what I would pay to the utility, which is 81 cents? If it is, let's just hold the battery till that peak period and then start using the battery to offset that 81 cents. Okay. Or is the highest bidder, this export rate, right? Who's that? Who will pay me the most for my energy that's in my battery? If it's the utility, save it for then and try to get as much to the grid as possible. If it's you, by avoiding cost, sell it that way, right? Sell to the highest bidder. And the software does all of that automatically. There's no homeowner involvement there, really.
Oh, okay. I feel like it's important information for me to want to have, because just explaining the functionality of Enphase, if we do go into this discussion with the homeowners, I just think it's freaking cool that they're like, what, it does that? That's awesome. Like, just selling the value of Enphase, and I'm like, boom, this we can get with Enphase.
Yeah, if you can explain it, great. You don't want to bog down the homeowner, right?
If it comes up,
you got to translate, right? You got to translate, right? You got to take, and that's why there's a few things that I said that, that's how I would translate it. I would say, look, one of the cool things about net billing or the California market is that you can actually sell at wholesale rates. Most of the time it's pretty low. That's why we use a battery, right? The battery will hold that energy so that you can avoid paying high rates later in the day. But there are some times where you can get a lot of value, and our software will automatically determine that and discharge the battery to maximize your value. Well, how does that work? Well, the software just takes and looks at like, who's going to pay the most? Is it the grid, or is it, is it avoiding the cost from the grid? And it just makes the decision based on that. Right. So you got to practice, explain it to a homeowner in simple words and simple language. It's a really good practice. right? It's a really good practice. You could try to not go there at all, which is fine. But if you can explain it in a simple way, you'll distinguish yourself from other sales guys, right? Oh, this guy actually taught it to me. They explained how it worked. The other guy didn't even understand that. Okay. I want to talk about the new battery. The new battery is more powerful. I'm going to talk about what that means. The new battery is hardwired. It gives faster commissioning for installers. It allows more flexible equipment locations. It gives more reliable connection and communication. The old battery was a 3.3 kWh building block. And if you did 3 of them, you got a 10 kWh building block, right? We simplified things. We just said, look, let's just have one 5 kWh building block. That's it. So when you see, oh, I can get a 10 kWh battery of 5 Ps. Is that a bigger battery? No. That's 2 5 Ps. I can get a 15 kWh battery. No. That's just 3 5 Ps. Okay, so it's just a Lego. You can put as many on there as possible. It's everything scales. So when you put on more batteries, you get more energy. You also get more power. Who can explain what the difference is between energy and power as it relates to a battery? Anybody? Went to the master class. You definitely know, but if you don't, I have an analogy right here for you. Anybody? What's the difference between energy and power as it relates to batteries? Going once.
Energy is energy is energy is how much it can hold, and power is how much it can discharge.
Great. Very well said. Very well said. I think you nailed it. The analogy I'll give is this water bottle. Energy is how many ounces the water bottle can hold. Power is the size of the straw. How fast I can get the water out of here. My 5-year-old uses a little clean canteen, a little small bottle, and they have a sippy cup for kids. And at about 3 years old, she started 3-4 years old. You could just tell she wasn't getting enough water through the sippy cup. And so we updated her top to a sports cap. Now she gets more water faster. She can actually drink that thing all the way to the bottom. Before she couldn't even get enough water out. So when it comes to battery, power is the size of the pipe that allows you to charge and discharge the battery. The bigger the pipe, the faster you can discharge the battery. What does that mean to a homeowner? It means 2 things, right? We talked about batteries, what they're used for. They're used for saving money and keeping the lights on, right? So when it comes to keeping the lights on, I'll talk about that first. It means you can run more appliances at the same time, or you can run larger appliances. So if you compare our current battery to our existing battery, we now have twice the power per kilowatt hour. That rhymes. Okay. And we have 3 times the surge. Surge is very beginning, starting up things. Okay. So if you compare a 10 kWh to a Tesla Powerwall or Franklin, you can see it has more power. Even though 10 kWh is smaller than their capacity, it's kind of handcuffing us. So we still have more power. If you compare 15 of ours, 3 5 kWh batteries, to their fit 13.5, we have a lot more power. And so the summary here is that with only 15 kWh, we can start 3, 4, and 5 ton air conditionings. You can't do that with a Powerwall or a Franklin. And so the summary is really, I should actually highlight this. Let me see if I can get this thick bar here. Is that you can get, oh, I really want this to be, I want it to be, here, I'll highlight this like this. Oh no, that's terrible. Let me try this one more time. Maybe I'll do it like this. There we go. You can achieve whole home backup with only 15 kWh of batteries. So a homeowner wants backup. What's the most cost-effective way for them to get whole home backup, all their loads on backup? Give them 15 kWh of our new 5P. Now, a side benefit of this that most people don't know about is that, and I could really highlight all these as yellow because all of these are, all of these are whole home backup. A side benefit is that when you go whole home backup, you completely avoid a main service upgrade. Some of our competitors ramp on, oh, Enphase needs an MPU, Enphase needs an MPU. Not true. In fact, you go whole home backup with our 15 kWh or greater, you can get up to the amperage of the main service panel. Meaning if you have a 200 amp main service panel, I can backfeed 200 amps of solar and storage. I'm not going to go through the technical details. I was just on the call with Chris Bunch, the head of engineering and design. He completely supports this approach. You can avoid an MPU by selling them a whole home backup system in 98% of the scenarios. So you're worried about an MPU, sell them 15 kWh of Enphase backup, done. They get the benefit of 15 kWh. They get the benefit of whole home backup. They get the benefit of incredible savings. I'll talk about that in a second. That's only with our new battery. Before, to get whole home backup, you really had to have 30 kWh of our existing battery. Remember I said we doubled the power? So now we can achieve the same amount of power we used to get with 30 kWh with only 15 kWh. Dana, shoot.
Just before you sign off, can we go back to Bo's question because it was a really good question?
Yeah.
And make sure that we get clarity on it. That's all.
Something in the chat?
Yeah, I sent it in the chat. But I mean, I think mainly the main question is if you have a currently if you just have a 10 kilowatt battery, can you achieve both the self-consumption as well as the backup, or do you have to? I know you can if you can choose it in the back end, you choose it, but I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
is it a specific battery that you have to choose, or is that just
Yeah.
kind of for
It's a really good
you to
question.
know which would they want?
It highlights where I wasn't super clear. So I'm going to show you something real quick here. This is a system with no battery. A battery with no backup but self-consumption is basically just adding a battery to our existing combiner. A battery with backup is the same battery configured with an IQ system controller and by rewiring loads into a backup load panel. So when you make a decision on whether they're getting no backup or backup, you're choosing the same battery. You're just deciding which configuration they're getting it installed in, if that makes sense. You're deciding whether they're just configuring it in a very, very simple way, just putting the battery on the combiner box and walking away. Or I have another slide, I don't have it here, but it shows it wired for backup. And it's just more complicated. There's more components and there's more cost
But
associated.
if you're wired for backup, and let's say the customer says, "Hey, I want the
Yes.
backup, but I
You get
do also want to
self-consumption.
achieve self-consumption."
Yes,
then
you
they
get
can-
both.
Okay, cool.
So savings only, no backup. Backup, automatic savings.
And just to clarify, grid tied is self-consumption.
Correct.
And both options avoid a MPU.
Good question. Really good question. We'll get there. We'll get
So-
there. What I clarified is 15 kWh or greater with backup. Whole home backup with 15 kWh or greater avoids an MPU, period.
I definitely missed that. Thanks, Spencer.
Yep. So let's put this all in the same hand here. Savings, self-consumption, grid tied, all the same thing. Saving money, self-consumption, grid tied, all the same thing. Option, backup. Option, backup. And if you do backup with whole home, 15 kWh or greater, avoid an MPU. So I talked about, wow, this new battery really can provide more power. It can back up larger loads with less batteries. This is cool, right? It backs up these large air conditioning tons when you would need a lot more batteries from Tesla. You know, I can't even, you know, look at Franklin. It's not even close. It's more than 2.5 times the power. Franklin, one of the what is it called? FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. One of the pieces of FUD they've kind of thrown in some of the conversations to go, oh, you can go whole home backup with a single Franklin. Unfortunately, the way they manage whole home backup is they turn off the large loads. They shut them off. So it's not really a whole home backup. They put them all on the backup load panel, but they put them all into the oversized bus, whatever they talk about, but they turn them all off, the large ones. We don't have to do that. We can actually power them. So per code, we can have them all on backup. Franklin talks about, oh, we have an oversized bus. Enphase has an oversized bus too. It's called our IQ system controller. Same thing. Their oversized bus has some load control built in where they turn loads off. So they're saying, hey, we can get whole home backup by turning loads off. I'm saying, no, don't do that. Just give them a battery powerful enough to support those loads. Give them whole home backup. We can put them all on the oversized bus. We can avoid a main service upgrade. Okay, so that's off grid. Now I talked about on grid discharging. Now I'm going to talk about savings. Think about this again. We have 1 hour, maybe 2 hours to spin that meter backwards in these peak periods. If a homeowner is using, let's say they're using 5 kilowatts of air conditioning at 6 or 7 p.m. and the Tesla or Franklin's only able to output 5. Actually, this is inaccurate. The Tesla can I just found this out. They can actually output 5.8 when on grid. So I like to be 100% accurate. Okay. So they can only output 5.8 or 5. Then most of that output goes to the home. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have 11.5 from Enphase, they can be running an air conditioning and you can be spinning that meter backwards at $3 per kilowatt hour. So the extra power helps you save more by taking advantage of these rates. Our algorithm will say, hey, look, spin that meter backwards now, get the credits now. They may say, oh, well, you'll have to buy it back later. Sure, you'll buy it back later, but you'll buy it back for 80 cents when you just got a whole bunch of credits for $3. Okay, so I got it. The new battery has more power. You can do whole home backup with 15 kWh and avoid a main service upgrade. I also got it. The new battery discharges a lot faster than all of the competitors. It turns out that you save more money. You have more savings because of these export values in California. You could say, well, what about in other states? Well, it works the same way in other states in a little different way. In other states, imagine Ginny decides a system where, you know, the homeowner starts pulling, 10 kilowatts or something like that. But the problem is if the homeowner pulls 10 kilowatts, the battery can only provide 5. The rest is going to have to come from the grid. Enphase will be able to provide those kilowatts. Now, Armando asked a very, very good question, which is, what about grid-tied batteries to no backup to avoid a main service upgrade? So we're working on a special software. It's called Power Control Systems. It'll be done within the month. It's going through UL right now. It's going through UL right now. That software will allow you to not have to count the battery in backup. Meaning, let me say that differently. That battery will allow you to not have to count the battery. That software will allow you to not have to count the battery and backfeed. Main panel avoidance. You'll be able to do it here too. It's not as dramatic as the other way with whole home backup, but it's the same as solar. Right now, today, you actually, if you do grid tied, meaning no backup, you have to count this battery in the backfeed. It does trigger a main service upgrade, but we're doing software to basically eliminate that. It'll be ready within the month. If you sell today, you should be fine. Meaning all you have to count. Now I'm working on a table for this, but so I'll try to get that to you guys too, so you can do the calculation. But basically we're going to have software that says, hey, look, why do you need to count this battery? The solar and the battery are never sending energy back at the same time to the main service panel. Can't you just use software to make sure the service panel is corrected? And yes, we can. We can protect the main service panel by making sure these two don't discharge at maximum capacity at the same time. So this is called power control system. We're going to do follow-up trainings. So I want to stop here. The other thing I didn't mention is, we got the 5 kW building block. We got double power. We got the other thing that's really important is we have a 15-year warranty standard. Standard warranty out of the box at 15 years included, period. Right? So it's a big benefit. A lot of these things I talked about, you're into. Some homeowners, you'll be able to explain it to. Others, it'll just go over their head. But a 15-year warranty is very concrete. Hey, look, this battery has a 10-year or 12-year. Enphase has 15. Every homeowner will understand that immediately. So it's a piece of value that's very easy to communicate. So let me stop for questions. I appreciate the time. We could go 2 hours, right? No problem. I'd love to do more time with you guys, after I'm back from paternity leave, if you can make space on your calendar. But I wanted to try to drop as many nuggets. I'll send both these slide decks over. We got it recorded, which is cool. And really appreciate the time, Bo and Dana. Yes, Tom asked, can we integrate generators with this new battery? Yes, you can integrate generators with the new battery. You'll need to specify it at point of sale because there's a special kind of component you need for that. The system controller is a little different.
Awesome. I don't see any other questions. Anyone else have any other questions for Spencer? Appreciate your time, Spencer. You always provide a lot of value when you bring this on.
I appreciate your great questions. Hopefully I try to be super rigorous on my answers because otherwise I'm not, I really want to help clarify your thinking, right? So everybody's just like, wow, this is a new way of seeing things that makes it really easy for me to communicate these to homeowners. Like I want to be black and white with the homeowner so I can be super confident. And so they can be super clear and they can feel confident to make a decision by choosing to work with me.
Absolutely.
So,
Well,
okay, guys.
Appreciate your time. Go take your time off. Congratulations on your baby. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank
I'd
you.
love to
Thank you,
work with you
Spencer.
guys more when I return. Thanks for the time,
Absolutely.
Dana, Bo, everybody. Good to see you
Thanks,
guys.
Spencer, and thank you, Bo, for allowing me to sit in on this. I really
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here, Keith.
All right, take care, you
Thanks,
guys.
Keith.